Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Ask DeFranco's Gym. Little change of pace today. I am in the Industrial Strength Show studio. This will be the home of my podcast, which is starting next month. The reason why I'm sitting here is because a couple days ago on Facebook, when we finally completed this studio, I took a picture of it, posted it on Facebook, and a bunch of people asked me if I could give a listing of all the books that I had. I have my training books. I also have another shelf over there of business books. I have over 200 books. It's crazy how much I've accumulated over the years. I didn't realize that, but I didn't want to just list all 200 books because, quite frankly, some of them weren't that good. Some of them I didn't even finish, and I don't want to waste your time. I always pride myself on giving practical information. So I wanted to figure out a way to narrow it down and give something very usable. So I was thinking, and what came to me was this month marks our 12-year anniversary. January of 2015 marks us, DeFranco's Gym, being in business for 12 years. So what I will do is, in honor of the anniversary, I'm going to give you my top 12 most practical books. These are books that I think you could actually use and understand and get through, not take 2 years to read or just make your head spin. Very usable, very practical book list. I'm going to give you 6 training books, and then tomorrow I'm going to come back and give you 6 practical business books. So let's get to it. Number 1 on the training list is Dinosaur Training. This is the first book that I ever read cover to cover by Brooks Kubik. It is the one that exposed me to the unconventional, untraditional type strongman training, things that got you outside of the gym. And the off-the-wall type implements like sandbags and logs and stones and thick barbells, tractor tires, kegs, all that fun stuff. Crazy farmer's walk implements. I made these 2 fat-handled farmer's walk implements out of 2 empty gas tanks. I remember, man, when I was like 20 years old, and that was all influenced from Dinosaur Training. So, you know, obviously this type of training has heavily influenced me to this day. If you're familiar with this gym, we had our Strongman Saturdays, which became legendary. They talked about it in the Strong documentary. Smitty and I did the Extreme DVD a couple years ago, and for me, a lot of that stuff all started here with Dinosaur Training. So I think this is a foundational book. It's also very motivating. It's just a fun book to read. And if you're just into getting strong and just, you know, the old school strength when training was training and gyms were gyms, you know, this is the book for you. For me, it's still number 1 on the list. Highly recommended Dinosaur Training from Brooks Kubik. Now I'm going to get shit for the next 2 books on my list, but I don't care. It's my YouTube channel, my website. If you don't like it, you could go somewhere else. But I got to put strength on the practical list. This is like 40 years combined experience, Smitty and I. We worked on this thing every day for over a year to put it together. The reason why it is on this list and so practical, because a lot of you have heard me talk about everybody wants to get into the programming right off the bat. And you could be the smartest, most knowledgeable programmer in the world, but if you don't know how to teach a squat, a deadlift, a bench press, a lunge, a push, a pull, if you can't teach the fundamental movement patterns, or if you can't spot a flaw, a technical flaw in those fundamental movement patterns and then correct it, you could have the greatest program in the world and it means nothing. Because if you got athletes squatting wrong and they're hurting their knees and they're blowing out their low back and they're blowing out their shoulders doing a bench press improperly, you could have the greatest program on paper in the world and it ain't going to do shit, excuse my French. So this, I truly feel, is the definitive text for just developing technical mastery in the fundamental movement patterns. And then the thing that puts it over the edge from other books that might be like it is the troubleshooting chapters that we have. You know, in the real world, people aren't going to squat perfectly every time. They're not going to deadlift perfectly every time. And this is the only text I know of where we go over all those the most common flaws, the most common technical errors, and then we show you how to fix them, how to think critically, and then what to do to actually make a change and fix them. So this has got to be on the foundational list. I just happen to be one of the co-authors. Sorry. Speaking of which, speed. Smitty and I, along with Mike Wadango, put this one together. This has got to be on the list as well because I feel like speed training is the most overcomplicated aspect in all of training. I've been doing a lot of consulting lately, and I can't tell you how many gym owners and coaches in the private sector especially will tell me, if a high school kid comes into my facility and wants speed training, I just refer him out because I don't really, that's not my expertise. And that's great. If you're not comfortable doing something, you should always refer out. But I feel like if they were taught properly, they would be able to get somebody faster because it's not as complicated as a lot of the so-called speed experts will make you think. But at the same time, I understand because most of the speed training information out there is information written by high-level track and field coaches. So if you're somebody that trains team sport athletes, non-track athletes, it could be a little confusing. So what we did was we broke down acceleration, change of direction, agility, and maximal velocity. We broke it down in the simplest way possible. I think anybody could read 120 pages. It's not that thick. You could read this in one sitting, 1 or 2 days. You could read it and comprehend it. At the end, we have a Q&A to help tie everything together. We also give you our most practical and proven drills. So I truly feel like this book could help get 99% of the clientele that 99% of you watching this are going to deal with. So it's all the best information wrapped up into one little 120-page manual that is super easy to read and very understandable. Done talking about myself. The next book up is Ultimate MMA Conditioning by Joel Jamieson. I never met Joel, but he has definitely become the authority, I would say, on energy system training and conditioning. I would say conditioning is probably the most complicated aspect of human performance because there are so many different biological systems involved, and I think that scares away a lot of coaches. It might not be the most fun topic, so it's like, I'd rather read about strength, so I'll stay over here. And what happens is a lot of athletes end up being very poorly conditioned, or what I would call misconditioned, because their trainer or coach didn't do their due diligence and learn the topic. And what I feel this book does is, I love the way Joel broke up the book, and the way it's written, it's very understandable. It's, I won't say easy to read, but it's very well organized and understandable. So it is not your college exercise phys textbook. Much easier to read than that. He really breaks down all the different systems, and then he gives you specific methods for improving those energy systems. So that in and of itself will help any athlete. Then he ties it all together and also shows you how to sample programming, sample ways to program your conditioning. Now, he uses MMA in the book as the examples, but anybody could benefit from this book. This is literally for all athletes. All you need to know is what energy system the sport you're training for requires. You will learn about it in this book, and then you apply that knowledge from this book to your specific sport. So for conditioning, this is the one I recommend. Next up, Becoming a Supple Leopard. Kelly Starrett, again, never met this guy either, but he is killing it. I see him all over the world doing big things. This book is basically, if I could summarize it in a nutshell, because this thing's a beast, it gives you the tools to fix soft tissue restrictions by learning how to move properly and then perform maintenance on yourself. So teaches you what are the proper mechanics for ideal movement, and then if you can't do them, here's what you need to do to be able to perform those ideal movements. And the key thing is self-maintenance. A lot of people are restricted, they're super tight, they lack mobility, but they end up taking 3 Advil because their low back hurts, or you have to hire a chiropractor or a massage therapist, an ART specialist, a Graston technique. You go to a stretch therapist, and all those things are great, but not everybody could afford $100 or $200 every day to go to a different therapist to help with their movement restrictions. So this book, for selfish reasons, I love it because it helped me get out of a lot of back pain, and I use a lot of the techniques on a daily basis. From a professional standpoint, I used to spend so much one-on-one time stretching these big friggin' savages that I would have 10 guys in a combine group, and I would spend 2 days, 2 recovery days, where I would just line them up and do one-on-one stretching for 10 hours straight. It nearly killed me. So this book has helped me, give me some new tools to give them things they could do on their own before they come see me. So when we go through our group warm-up or we do our sprints or our squats, they're moving more efficiently, they're moving with less pain, they're stronger, they're faster, they feel better. So this would be a staple. If you have a gym, this should be mandatory reading, and I leave it out in the gym for the athletes when they walk in here to use as a reference as well. So becoming a supple leopard has got to be on your list. And then finally, high performance training for sports. This was just turned on to me by Cameron Joss, who is the director of sports performance at my Texas facility, DeFranco's gym at the On Academy. This thing, I saw Cameron reading it a couple months ago, and I had read a book very similar to this a couple years ago, and it was kind of like, and I was like, yeah, I think I read that a couple years ago, and he told me it was new, and there was, a lot of new, cool, interesting stuff in here, so I purchased it, and I couldn't put it down once I started skimming through it. There's 24 different chapters by, I think, close to 24 different coaches and authors from all over the world, world-renowned coaches, and I've only read like 5 or 6 chapters, but this thing covers such a broad spectrum of athletic performance. It kind of brings all the rest of the books together. I've read the chapters on developing younger athletes, enhancing movement efficiency, using strength platforms for explosive performance, successfully translating strength into speed, optimizing training for jumping and landing, increasing agility, and I just started the chapter on generating anaerobic power, and that is just 6 or 7 chapters. I started, and there's 24. So this would round out my top 6 list as a must-have because it just covers so many different aspects of training. And in case you didn't realize it, the 6 I chose, I tried to get many different aspects of performance. You have your strength, your speed/power with the speed manual, your conditioning, your mobility, and then the last book to kind of tie it all together. So everything is covered in these 6 books. God forbid this place burnt down. If I have these 6 books, I'm pretty good to go. So that's my top 6. Speaking of the 12-year anniversary, I put together this memoir. This is an ebook I actually just printed out. It's called 12 Years, 12 Epic Workouts. When I made the big moved all of our stuff to Texas and then moved my office stuff to my new home base here in New Jersey, I went through all my old training logs and all the old filing cabinets from 12 years and picked out the 12 most epic workouts ever performed by my professional athletes. And then I gave a little history lesson, a little backstory behind each of the workouts. It's a very fun read. And also, you'll also see how these 6 books kind of influence me when I'm actually, having to put all the information and knowledge I have into a program or into a specific workout. So it's a cool way to kind of tie all this stuff together. Literally giving it away for the month of January in honor of the anniversary. $17 on the store page of my website. If you want to check it out, 12 years, 12 epic workouts. I'm going to take it down once October hits. Keep it back to myself, but just wanted to tell you about that. Thank you for watching. I know this was a little long, but I had to share the knowledge with you. That's my top 6 training books. I'll have links on my blog so you know where to get these resources. Tomorrow I will be back with the most practical business books. Thanks, guys.